So DOGE's audit of the IRS is imminent. Fox News has learned the Department of Government Efficiency will soon have access to taxpayer information, allowing them to slash waste in the agency. And we'll get the official ruling from a federal judge today on their authority to access data and fire federal employees after appearing poised to side with DOGE. Here to react, Fox News legal analyst, legal editor Kerri Urbahn. So, Kerri, we're going to find out now if if you feel as though the DOGE can have access to the IRS system. So, if the head of DOGE has a high security clearance, does that allow the people that work for him to have that same access?
Well, no, people get individual clearances. But one thing that I think has been just strange in this whole conversation around DOGE over the last few weeks is this idea that you even need a security clearance to access tax information and social security numbers. You don't, unless that social security number is attached to sensitive information. Now, the White House has said, and a source that I have within the government has confirmed this with me, that DOGE employees who are accessing sensitive information have the appropriate training and clearances. So that should really be a non-issue at this point. In addition to the fact, Brian, that DOGE employees are federal government employees. And not only should they have the same access as their career official colleagues, they should have more access because they were effectively directly elected by the people via the president in the election. And a lot of what we're seeing over the last few weeks is just the media and certain lawmakers being disingenuous and I think exploiting the American people's lack of knowledge over how this works, and that political appointees are federal government employees just like everyone else and therefore should be able and permitted to do their job. And if they aren't, it's essentially like a usurpation of the democratic process.
So, Kerri, think about this. I work for DOGE. I can't look at the IRS, according to the Democrats. I can't look at the IRS stuff. But if I work for the IRS, I can look at all your stuff. Right. Who are those people? So I can't look at what the IRS is looking at. It's crazy on surface. And how can you possibly reform something if you can't analyze something? Meanwhile, President Trump is going to appeal to the Supreme Court today over the firing of U.S. agency boss as another federal judge rules against federal employees who sued the Trump administration over privacy and security concerns around a government workforce email distribution system. So essentially, the president's got to argue and defend that he could fire somebody that he doesn't want around.
Yeah, I really like this case. This is one to watch, and because it's going to set the tone for a lot of these firings. And a very simple explanation is that the Trump administration recently fired the head of the Office of Special Counsel. That's not like Jack Smith Special Counsel. This is the ethics chief, basically. They look into Hatch Act violations and the like. This person, in response, skipped the normal process and went right to the courts and asked for a judge to unilaterally intervene and restore him to his job. Now, Brian, it's not even clear that a judge has the authority to restore someone to their job in a situation like this, but the Trump administration lost at the federal appellate courts, and now they're asking the U.S. Supreme Court to take a look at it. Now, the reason this is especially interesting is because what people are making a lot of is the statutory language that says this individual, people in this category, can only be removed for inefficiency, malfeasance, and a couple of other things. And however, what's being ignored is that the Supreme Court has said twice that singular directors of executive agencies limiting what the president can do in terms of hiring or firing them is not constitutional. And that makes sense because think about it. Why should a president be forced to retain someone who's the head of an agency that he or she doesn't want to retain? I mean, it's kind of messed up if you think about it. Because, and so I'm really hoping the Supreme Court takes this one up and clarifies the power of the executive branch and their ability to let someone go who they think is not going to be in line with their administration's way of doing things. And
I'll give you the best example, I think, is the post office. We don't need as many people as we used to. That was before email. That was the only way to get in touch with people. But now you have less of that. They get this new division called crypto. Now, crypto is going to staff up. So you might have to take from one area to another. No government can function if you're not allowed to let people go or build up or slim down any agency. So I just wonder why all this pushback. I think we got to fundamentally get back to the fact that this is being done because we can't afford the government that we have. And instead of targeting somebody for making the hard judgment because he's volunteering to do something he's an expert in. Kerri, thanks so much for breaking it down. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.